God bless his soul. I'm out.
So getting back to Bob Melvin, as we were talking about before the end of the break, I thought you brought up something really fascinating, and it was you talking about yesterday the contrast, or what is the contrast, between Bob Melvin and Gabe Kapler.
Right. Through the first 45 games of the season.
Yeah. And Dave Fleming's saying to us, and this is all speculation, so I'm recklessly speculating on a hunch here, but like when I think of head coach, GM, there is a working agreement between the two of them,
right?
But there are a lot of times there's turmoil, and one guy gets hired, the other guy's on the hot seat. They want to point the finger when things don't go well. The GM is usually closer to the owner because they're in the press boxes and they're talking. Think Trent Baalke, Jim Harbaugh. That's like the worst end of it. Now, the successful other end is like Brett Veach, Andy Reid, right? They're on the same page.
Yep.
They're winning championships, whatever. Somewhere in the middle, at some point in San Diego, Bob Melvin and AJ Preller had a disconnect.
Yep. Who's the guy we asked, Lubman? He does the pod. He was really good with this. We'll get him on when the Giants play the Padres soon. What was his name, Lubman? He does a podcast down there for the San Diego Padres. Because you asked him about it, but go ahead, continue, Shaz.
Well, the point being is that there was a player dynamic in the clubhouse where there was jealousy over money with three $300 million players and Juan Soto not getting his $300 or $400 million that he was looking for or whatever. And then they weren't winning. And then you had the GM who's gone through a million different coaches, managers, says, hey, it's Bob's fault. Get him out of here.
Right.
I think Bob has been around the block enough to understand that, like, when things start to go south and a team is underperforming, if I'm going to go down, and this is how I would be, and I'm guessing here, if I'm going to go down, I want to go down my way.
Yeah.
I don't want you giving me the lineup or you inserting this player here and that guy there and having more input on the substitutions. So when Dave Fleming says that Bob Melvin is a little more edgier than he thought, to me it's not about like, oh, he wants to win a lot. No, I think he's realizing, like, I don't know how many more of these opportunities to manage I'm going to get.
No, this may be his last ride. This may be his last ride, no doubt about that. And you said something there that reminds me of us on this show. To bring it back to this show. We said when Kate Scott took the Philadelphia Sixers job, and she's doing a hell of a job there, we text during the series, and she's loving life on the East Coast, especially after the Maxey shot. But we said, hey, look, man, we heard all these things, think pieces, and, your style, the way we did overtime, 49ers post-game show. We were told by multiple people, that style's not going to work in the morning.
Yeah.
You're going to need to change up. You're going to need to change up.
Yeah.
But when Kate left the show, we told each other, if we're going to go out and we're going to fail on this morning show, let's just go out doing the things we do.
Yeah.
This is the only way we know how to do
Being
radio.
ourselves.
Being ourselves. I can't fake it. I'm not going to generate laughs and try to be some comedian or whatnot. That's not who I am.
Or me to be, hi, I'm Joe Shasky, and this is the Morning Roast, and I talk in broadcaster voice.
Exactly.
This is not who I am.
No. We're not doing that.
I am Sean. Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's who we are.
Plus, we don't have the infrastructure for me to have the Jim Rome, Colin Cowherd script. So, I would love to have 15 producers writing me material every morning, and I just show up and
awesome.
read.
But then again, that wouldn't be awesome because I like doing my own work.
No, I'm with you on that.
You know what I'm saying?
Like to paint outside the lines.
We're taking the roasters over the clones any day of the week.
Any day of the week. But I'm
smoke them, literally.
By the way, Shaven shout-outs. We don't want to smoke that. Shaven shout-out 745. 745, Shaven shout-outs.
Ain't nothing you can do about it.
Ain't nothing we can do about it.
But you're right. We wanted to go out on our own. If we're going to go out.
We're going to go out on our own.
And one day we will be Joe Pesci walking into that room in Goodfellas where someone blows our brains out.
Yeah, we'll get popped.
Horrible analogy, but I'm just trying to give it to you.
Yeah, no, you always go down that road.
Like Tony Soprano, it goes to black.
It's just fades to black. And by the way, was ticked off at the ending of The Sopranos. She loved it. But she hated the ending.
Then that's the emotional
thing
that's
the emotional
needed.
attachment.
Yeah.
But she's a big fan. So, we're going to go out our way. So you say Bob Melvin, and he's been around the Mariners, the Diamondbacks, the A's, the Padres, and now the Giants.
It's a lot of teams.
3-time manager of the year, 07, 12, and 18. It's a lot of teams. They did win a championship. He's a World Series winner, it says.
As a player?
No, as a coach. He was a coach.
Oh, he's on a staff?
On a staff with the Diamondbacks.
Gotcha.
He was there with Bob Riley, his former teammate.
Yeah, Bob Riley, ex-Giant.
Cool. Yep, ex-Giant. So that's cool. He's got a World Series. But if I'm Bob, and knowing that he signed up with this team and knowing that Farhan Zaidi's here, he's got to know that Farhan's going to want to have a lot of input in a lineup. And there's no way in the world I think Bob Melvin would want to bat Austin Slater lead off.
Right?
I don't think he would want to bat Mike Yastrzemski lead off.
I don't think he wants to do the opener.
I think he hates that.
Yeah.
I think he's old school.
Look at his staff. It's Pat Burrell. It's Matt Williams.
Right.
Like, look at his staff. You tell me if Matt Williams strikes you as a guy that's like, yep, advanced analytics, give me the opener.
So my thing is, if he's getting edgy and he's getting a little agitated, does he have the ear of management, the ownership group, the Larry Bears of the world, the Johnsons?
Yeah.
Does he have their ear? Because one of them is going to have to go. I don't see this marriage between Farhan and Zaidi ending together.
Can we agree? I don't think Zaidi's going to get a third manager.
Well, technically, this is a third manager, right? Well, I guess he inherited Bochy.
He inherited Bochy. So
the second hire. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get a third hire. There you go. Third hire. I don't think he'll get a third hire. Would you agree with me there?
Hell, I didn't even think he deserved a second hire.
Okay.
Because think about this. And it's not about firing Farhan. We're not doing that today. We people who listen to the show, and if you haven't listened to the show, we're not fans of Farhan Zaidi.
No.
We haven't been fans for about 3 years now.
And the body of work is overwhelming.
Look at it. You got J.D. Davis speaking out on this team. Ross Stripling and Alex Wood crying out loud.
Stripling's pitching well.
I know he's pitching well.
I hate
Go
to
figure.
say it.
You got guys like that. There's so much smoke around this team. It's unbelievable. But when he hired Gabe Kapler, that took everybody back. Like, wait a minute. You hired a guy that Philadelphia just fired? We have Howard Escanal. We have Angelo Catania. They're laughing at us for hiring Gabe Kapler. Phillies who is laughing. He's like, dude, Gabe Kapler, really? Your team has Gabe Kapler? So Farhan did that. It was like, whoa, you're kind of beyond the eight ball here. And the fact that he was able to have the opportunity to hire Bob Melvin, and then I think, like Bob Melvin, okay, what happened in San Diego?
Well,
why didn't it work out? 1 year you go to the NLCS, and I thought you made a big blunder by throwing Sean Manaea in the game. He got rocked, whatnot. Anyway, you hire him, and he lost the clubhouse. So Craig Elson, what podcast is it that he does in San Diego? Because he was really tapped in to what was going on with the Padres. Anyway, Craig Elson, down there in San Diego, Padre podcaster, we'll say that for now until we play this out.
Padres Hot Tub Podcast.
Padres Hot Tub Podcast. Craig Elson. And he's a big NBA fan, obviously. We talked to him for about 20 minutes. We loved it. What went wrong with Melvin in San Diego? Here's what Craig Elson had to say about that.
I will tell you, gentlemen, that the 2023 Padres were never connected as a team. There was a disconnect on that team throughout the season until like the final couple weeks of the season. And that, to me, is something that speaks to a manager setting a culture and setting a tone, or not setting a culture and setting a tone. There was a lot of, hey, we've got the great players, roll them out there, see what will happen. There was a lot of tinkering. There was a lot of blown leads in the 7th and 8th inning, and on the field, it didn't work. Meanwhile, off the field, there was a growing rift between A.J. Preller and Bob Melvin, and it got worse. And I'm sure at some point in your guys' professional lives, you've had the unfortunate pleasure of working with a higher up or working with someone below you that you just didn't get along, and it just didn't click, and the styles aren't the same. And that can be something that hardens you as a year goes on and kind of maybe takes away from some of your creativity as things go on.
So Padres just got swept by the Rockies, and they're right now 500 team, average team at best, even though they got a lot of stars and they're selling out left and right.
They're the third in the last 3 years. Every year they have been number 3 in attendance, which is crazy.
They're selling out. Petco Park is, they've really embraced that market. The Chargers leave, and I'll never get the Chargers leave in San Diego. Well, I get it because they wanted the city to pay for a stadium, but they should have paid it themselves. But the Chargers are always going to be an afterthought now in L.A. Yeah. It's a joke. It's a joke. The L.A. Chargers, really? Anyway.
Well, no, and the other part on the Padres, just real quick, what Oakland tried to do, the A's, with the rooted in Oakland, the Padres didn't do a catchy, slogan. They just did it.
They just did it.
They just literally invested in their team.
Went back to Brown.
Yeah, and so keep going. And they've reaping the rewards.
No, they are. They are. So Bob Melvin, and it's not all on Bob Melvin. I don't think we want to say that. I don't think we want to say that at all. By the way, we will. Shameless shout-outs in 15 minutes. Line them up, 888-957-9570. If you can't call in, go ahead and text us on the Xfinity mobile text line, 888-957-9570 for shameless shout-outs. Coming up in 14 minutes here on the Morning Roast. Shameless shout-out whoever you want to shout out. You're asking shout-out somebody every 5 minutes. Well, you can do that in about 14 minutes, all right? So let's do it.
Or your business.
Or your business. Or your business. Get us. I want to do a show at one of your businesses, by the way. We're going to play a lot of Ronnie Lott, Alden Smith, obviously a lot of Niner stuff from yesterday. I thought Willard and Dibs did a tremendous job down there in San Jose at the Dwight Clark Legacy Series interviewing Alex Smith, Steve Young. I mean, a lot was going on at 95-70 game. It was a good time down there. Looked like a good time. I wish we could have gone there. But Melvin, it was not all on Melvin, Shasky. But I wonder how much power he's going to have here in San Francisco. What is the power structure in San Francisco? What is he going to put his – is he able to put his foot down and say, no, we're not doing this. We're doing this.
Don't you learn from past failures?
Absolutely.
Typically, he lost the power struggle. Like, that's what it was.
In San Diego, he lost it with A.J. Preller.
Right. No, we could say it's underperformance, but, like, if that was the case, then both would have been blown out, right? He lost the power struggle, right? And so, I don't know, man. Like, I think he's learned from that situation. I'm not saying that a power struggle is happening here currently, but when Dave Fleming tells us that he's an edgy guy, that, to me, I instantly go to, I don't want to be told what to do with the roster you've given me. I will make those decisions. And if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down on my gut and my feelings. And I get that. When you've been around the game as long as you have, and you look around and you're like, hey, is my longevity going to be there as a manager? Very few people do the Jack McKeon. You're coaching in your 90s. You're managing in your 90s, right? And so, and this is also, like, look, this is his hometown team. And I do think that when people get what they call their dream job, they want to make sure they go out their way and they want to do everything the right way. And so, I think there's something going on here.
And he sees what's going on with this team in this market. He's come back to this market. Point. He's come back to this market. He was down in San Diego where there's a party. And it's sellouts left and right.
They transformed that team.
They transformed that team. It is the thing. Now, they're the only show in town outside of San Diego State.
For sure.
But that's their only pro team. So they're going to flock in on that. Padres been down there forever. But he comes back to San Francisco, and his introductory press conference goes, San Francisco's always been about the Giants. Always been about the Giants. Now, I do agree that growing up, Giants and Niners were my first love. Warriors are playing in Oakland, but they're on Sports Channel. I grew up, eventually, early 90s, I'm all in on the Warriors, right? It's Warriors, Giants, and Niners, whatever. And there are different loves for each team. But the Giants they had the city hopping.
100%.
They did. And I think when he came back and he said in his introductory press conference, it's always been a baseball town. It's been a Giants town. I'm like, Bob, not really.
Not lately.
Not in the last decade.
Yeah.
Not even close.
No.
And you have an opportunity to kind of regain some power in this market. But look at the players. Look at the team. Look at the way you guys go about your business. It's not Bob. Bob is new to this. He's been here for 45 games plus spring training. I think he's learned, like, damn. Warriors are down the street. People are buzzing about Jonathan Kuminga. He's probably the fifth guy on the Warriors.
Well, opening day, he probably got a good feel. Like, wow, the loudest ovation was for Matt Williams and Pat Burrell.
Yeah.
Two guys that haven't played in a Giants uniform in a long time.
Forever.
Right, those are the loudest ovations.
Pat Burrell was here for a cup of coffee, and Matt Williams is quiet as hell.
He hasn't been a Giant since 1996.
I know. Yeah, and he's quiet.
1996.
I know.
It's 2024.
So Bob's learning, man. It's a tough deal. But I wonder where that relationship is with Farhad Zaidi.
How would you grade Bob Melvin? It's very early, right?
I don't even know how to grade him.
45 days in.
I don't even know how to grade him, Shasky.
Why is that?
Because I don't know what he's allowed to do. I don't know the power struggle. I don't know. Is Farhad really at 4 o'clock? Like today when they get ready to play the Rockies?
Yeah.
Farhad does this. Here you go.
Yeah, it's a great question.
There's a lineup card. People listening in the car.
So, like, here, let's go like this.
Basically, head and Shasky a piece of paper as a lineup card saying, hey, here you go. Here's a lineup.
So, like, Austin Slater leading off when he's playing against lefties, and you drop Jung-Hoo Lee to the third spot. Does that feel like a Pat Burrell, Matt Williams, Bob Melvin decision?
No, it doesn't.
I mean, Pat Burrell and Matt Williams spent the majority of their career batting 3, 4, or 5.
Right.
The majority of their careers. Think of what they were as ball players. Do you think Jung-Hoo Lee is a prototypical 3-hitter?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I don't care who's pitching.
I'll say this. With Jung-Hoo Lee, he may be better suited to be a two-hitter.
Fine.
Because I thought he would add a lot of more speed, but he does get contact. He puts the ball in play. He can run the base pass, but as a leadoff, give me another leadoff guy. Give me some more speed at the top of the lineup. But as a 3-hole hitter, no. I saw that. I was like, what are we doing?
Well, yeah, that's kind of where I'm going at with that. And so then I look at like the bullpen and how he's used the bullpen. Do you believe heading into the year, upper management thinks highly of the Rogers brothers?
Upper management does.
Okay. Who do you think they want getting the ball in the 7th and 8th inning?
Oh, the Rogers brothers.
The Rogers brothers haven't been good. Like, if we're being objective.
Been okay.
Yeah, but who has he continued to go to? Like Tyler Walker, whatever his name is. What's your buddy's name? Ryan Walker?
Ryan Walker.
Ryan Walker.
Here, buddy. Ryan Walker.
He's used Miller a lot.
Sean Jelly was pitching in the 7th the other night.
So
did that scare you?
I'm wondering, Bob's using certain arms in certain situations, and I'm just questioning, is he bucking what the front office wants, or is he doing what the front office wants? I don't know. But that's the part where I get frustrated, because they told me that the Knicks coach would be able to use his gut more. And when I see some of the lineups, I don't feel that way.
I wonder, let me get in here, because I wonder how this, because, the Anthony Slaters, the Kidja Andrews, the Monty Pools, the Kareth Burks, the J.D. McCauley's, Sam Gordon's, they pepper Steve Kerr with rotation questions all the time. Rotations, lineup changes, Santa Cruz. When it's Shanahan, the David Lombardis, the Grant Coles, the Krugers, the Cam Edmonds, they all ask, Matt Mayokos, they all ask Kyle Shanahan, why did this guy not play?
Why is Isaiah Oliver on the bench?
Right. Why is Spencer Burford on the bench, and why is Feliciano starting?
Exactly.
We all ask these questions about lineups and stuff. Does anybody ask Bob Melvin or Farhad down there in the clubhouse on a day-to-day basis? So what goes into this lineup? What goes into this rotation? Or do they ask a question about the power dynamic of writing out the lineup?
Yeah.
Because that's something I would love to know.
Yeah, that's a good question.
And I know he won't answer that. They probably won't answer that. They probably say it's a group effort.
But has it been asked?
Yeah, so as far as I'll start the first part. As far as, lineup decisions, stuff like that, it is asked every now and then. I remember a few weeks ago, Austin Slater was leading off one night, and one of the writers kind of was pressing Bob on that, like, why Slater leading off? Why Slater leading off? And the answer was kind of generic. He knows how to lead off. He has good at-bats. He can draw walks. Stuff that, there's no substance there. It's just kind of manager speak. But there was a moment, I don't know if I'm not going to say I'm an expert on body language or anything like that. I got the sense that Bob was kind of having this, come on, I'm so tired of this question kind of look when it came to Austin Slater. Like, why Slater lead off? Why Slater lead off? And it's just like, he was given answers almost like this is what you say when you get asked that question. That was just my kind of personal takeaway from it. He just had this moment where it just looked like, I am tired of these Slater questions. As far as, lineup decisions.
Can I stop you real quick? So I would interpret that as, I don't want to bat Slater lead off. That's the way, what you're saying right there is how I would interpret that.
And I would say the difference between Bob this year and Gabe last year is that if Gabe Kapler is saying, we believe that Slater is good at leading off, he can do this, he can do that. He said it almost as if he kind of did believe it in a sense, whereas Bob's just kind of saying it where he's saying it because he has to say it.
Like he's reading off a script.
If that Bob is saying what he's been told to say, Gabe is saying it, but Gabe's it sounded like he was more on board.
More bought in.
He was more bought in. That's a good way to put it.
I wonder, I wish I would have got to that introductory press conference, because it may have been asked. That's one of the questions I would have probably asked at that presser with Farhad and Bob Melvin. So Bob, now that you're manager of the Giants, where's the power structure in terms of running out the lineups, deciding who's coming out of the bullpen and what inning, what role? Have you guys figured that out yet? Where are you at on that?
Yes.
That's the thing I want to know, because then we can start to delegate, okay, this guy's not bringing in the right players, or this guy's not making the right decisions.
Exactly.
I don't want to just be pointing the finger and say, hey, Bob's doing it great, because I don't want to go down that road right now with Bob Melvin. I don't know what his role is. I know he's a manager, but I don't know how much he's able to manage the roster on a day-to-day basis in terms of writing out the lineup cards or picking which pitcher could pitch in what inning or whatnot.
Great example, and I'm going to go back to Monday night. It's a tie ball game. You have the bottom of the order up, okay? And you bring in your closer, and then you take him out after 8 pitches. So I have follow-up questions. Was Camilo on a short leash because his arm was sore or he was tight? What went into the thought process of taking out your best pitcher, which to me would be old school management of rolling with your best guy, the hell or high water based on matchups. You're just going with the better player, right? In Camilo Duvall versus going to the lefty because Freeman hits lefties significantly worse, and so does Shohei Ohtani. I want to know about that 9th inning decision. I want to know who was thinking what and why were those decisions made.
Yeah, that's exactly
Am I
what
wrong?
I would know. No, you're not wrong.
Because
that's exactly
Bochy
what
would
I
have
would
stuck
know.
with Camilo Duvall
Right.
if he went with him in the ninth in a tie game, which might be both the manager and the organization feel that way. I'm talking about front office.
Boy, it seems like Bochy, too, is really sticking it to the Giants. He had a great time winning that series last year in August.
Monte, I don't think we could talk enough. They got rid of a guy. He took a little time off. And on the weekend of them firing their manager, who they replaced him with, he is en route to winning a World Series in year one.
In year one. In year one.
Not in like the second year.
No,
and
year
the Rangers
one.
have tremendous talent.
Year one.
If we flipped it, Gabe Kapler is managing the Rangers. There's no way anyone thinks they're winning the World Series, right? Does anyone think they're winning the World Series?
No, absolutely not. And they lost Jacob deGrom.
I know.
They trade for Max Scherzer, and they lose him.
I know. And they had a bullpen that was so rocky.
So right, he was rolling with Aroldis Chapman.
Nathan Eovaldi, he's a good player. No one views him as a number one.
He's been on
rotation.
7 playoff teams.
Right.
He's always in the playoffs.
He's always in the playoffs.
He's such a baller in the
Giving you
playoffs.
6 and giving up 2.
I swear to God,
he is.
the Marlins, the Red Sox.
Right.
I've seen him on 1,000 teams in the playoffs.
Oh,
I like
man.
Nathan Eovaldi, though.
Oh,
I think he's had 3 Tommy Johns.
No, he's been good.
I'm
like
dead
him.
serious.
No, he's one of those guys you see on the fantasy waiver wire. You're like, you know what? I'm going to ride this out.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, when does gravy trade ending?
If they got rid of Kyle Shanahan, and the guy that they hired to replace Kyle Shanahan, I'm talking about the 49ers, okay, got fired the same week that Shanahan's en route to his first Super Bowl.
Oh, my gosh.
Niner fans would lose their minds.
Oh, my gosh.
We were longing for Harbaugh for years, and Shanahan was successful.
Right.
Not all of us, but like some of
Right.
us.
No, you're right.
Right?
I mean,
If Steve Kerr left the Warriors,
it wins a championship.
It wins a championship.
Oh, my gosh.
and the Warriors are hiring another coach after the guy who replaces him, Warrior fans will lose their minds. I know Bulls fans lost their minds watching Phil Jackson take over the Lakers.
Speaking of which, Raj Mathai sat down with Steve Kerr yesterday at Chase Center. The great Raj Mathai from NBC